have been the director of Kenya School of Law since 2014. I would like you to tell us how the experience has been.
First of all, you must remember that the Kenya School of Law is statutorily created and mandated to offer advocates training to graduates from universities from within and without the Republic of Kenya. And I've been here, as you rightly said, since the year 2014, discharging my mandate in accordance with the Kenya School of Law Act. And our mandate, as I've said, is one that is meant to introduce these young men and women, and not so young to join the profession of law. And in my view, we have had a good contribution to make. We continue to produce students, we continue to train them. This is a dynamic institution which aims to ensure that we have the best practices in order to compete in the world and well beyond the region. And I think from where I sit, on average, we are doing well.
Okay. So every organization or individual has values that run their lives. What are the values that form the crossboard of the Kenya School of Law students? And
on the question of values, I'll simply say that the school has values, and I'll stop there because my personal assistant will then give you the set of values that we have. We have our core values, as you see there. We have our vision, we have our mission, we have our motto, we have our mandate, and we have all those things clearly spelled out, so that you will be beefed up from the material you'll get from my personal assistant.
Okay. In Kenya, there's this perception that students leave universities have been begged. Kenya School of Law, being a credible institution, is not an exception.
Yes.
What is your view on that?
Let's understand the Kenya School of Law in its proper perspective. The Kenya School of Law is a finishing institution, and we draw students from Kenyan universities and from universities outside of Kenya. So we have students from the United Kingdom, we have students from the United States of America, we have students from India, we have students from Malaysia, we have students from Uganda, we have students from Tanzania. And therefore, to say in a blanket fashion that they are half-baked would be indicting those institutions, some of them which are leading institutions. If students are half-baked, it is the individual students, not the totality of the students. I have some students here who are as good as any pair of students in the world. And if you look at my cabinet, those are trophies which have been won by our students continentally and worldwide. So if we are competing with Africa, we have excelled. If we are competing with the world, we have demonstrated that we have good students.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ever since passing through School of Law was made mandatory, what impact has been made to the law practice in Kenya?
Two things. Number one, it was always the case that the Kenya School of Law was the school that every lawyer had to go to. I attended the School of Law myself in the year 1986, and it was always mandatory. There was a short period during which students did not join the School of Law for instruction, and that was a very short period, and of course that was then done away with, because it was realized that in order to allow young men and women to practice law, they've got to go through a practical training program, which is the mandate of the Kenya School of Law. We have students who have been taught from an academic perspective at their respective universities. What we do here is to expose them to the practical dynamic, so that while you may have been taught the law of property and learned at the university, when you come here, we now teach you the finer points of conveyancing. While you may have been taught criminal procedure or criminal law and civil law at the university, when you come here, we now teach you criminal litigation and civil litigation. We teach you professional ethics. We teach you office management. So our mandate is to, as it were, smoothen the rough edges which may have remained undone at the universities. And we do that, in my view, pretty well.
Okay, I understand you're a High Court advocate both in Kenya and Tanzania.
Correct. Yes.
How would you rate the law practice in these two countries?
It must be remembered that legal practice in Kenya has always been ahead of Tanzania. Remember, legal practice as we know it did not take place in Tanzania until very recently. And Kenya is the leader in legal practice in this part of the world. And that will be clearly demonstrated by, first of all, the numbers that we generate. We have possibly 14,000 odd advocates now practicing. Tanzania may not have more than 5,000 as I speak, and Uganda is just in that neighborhood. And even if one went to Rwanda, it would be the same. If one went to Burundi, it would be the same. We are the leaders.
Okay.
In fact, I dare say outside of South Africa, Nigeria, and possibly Egypt, Kenya is one of the biggest markets for legal practice. And we are pretty ahead of the game in this regard.
Great. Do you feel Kenya School of Law is where it should be?
No institution is ever where it should be. Institutions are dynamic.
Okay.
So that a number of things. First of all, our capacity and physical facilities are overstretched. Remember, as I speak to you, we have over 2,200 students. If you ask me, this institution should not have more than 50 students, not more than 750 students, because of the physical facilities. And if you want to teach people practical skills, the fewer, the better. But because of the exponential expansion of the universities, when we went to the university, there was only the University of Nairobi, then came Moi with the School of Law. Now we have Nairobi, we have Kenyatta, we have Moi, we have Catholic, we have Nazarene, we have Kabarak, we have Jomo Kenyatta University, we have Kisii, and I'm told Daystar is also starting, and of course not to forget that we have Strathmore. All these are rivers that are flowing into what is a facility that has not known physical growth in the last 10 years. And invariably, therefore, our facilities are overstretched. And one looks to the future, a future where this facility will have its satellites in different towns, say Kisumu, say Mombasa. And I know that in Nigeria they have just done that. I think they have opened a school outside of Lagos. I don't know whether it's in Ibadan or in Abuja, but that is the way to go. There is never an occasion where one rests on one's laurels. One must always seek to improve, and because the law changes, technology changes, and we are in a constant state of change.
Yeah, every career has its challenges, and law is a risky career.
Yeah.
Case in point, the mysterious murders of law practitioners like Willie Kimani. Which other challenges do the lawyers?
Every profession, remember that of all professions, the law is the loudest, the most visible. And our activities are very much on the table and very much in the public arena. And for that reason, because you are fighting, sometimes people are engaged in the fight against injustice. So the perpetrators of injustice may sometimes want to eliminate you. And that has happened over the years, not only in this part of the world, but those who are true warriors of truth and justice must be prepared for the consequences. Of course, there are also other temptations. This is a profession where people handle money, and there is no shortage of individuals who have embezzled clients' money, and that is why we teach them professional ethics. But remember that we also live in a society where corruption and thieves are celebrated, and sometimes you find some advocates who are unscrupulous in order to meet societal expectations, embezzle clients' money. But it's good to know that the Law Society of Kenya and the government, through the Advocates Complaints Commission, deals with such miscreants and errant members very firmly. Perhaps not too swiftly, but firmly, and that is a good thing.
As an authoritative speaker on African solution to African problems, how can I comment on the current political situation in Kenya?
The politics of Kenya, and perhaps you read my book, copy of which I'll give you, which is called Sanitizing Kenyan Politics. I believe that our politics is at a very low level in terms of its ability to handle issues. Kenyan politics is very deeply ethnicized. Kenyan politics is very highly corrupt. And for some reason, the corrupt and the ethnic mobilizers are the ones that are attractive to the electorate, which is also very corrupt. The Kenyan electorate is also a very corrupt electorate. And for that reason, there is a sense in which, as I've said in my book, there is need for political hygiene to be reintroduced so that people are mobilized on the basis of issues, not on the basis of whether Luos, Kambas, Luhias, and other things. So I was in Rwanda only about 4 days ago, and they're going to have their elections on the 4th day of August. And nobody, you don't even see posters. If you came to Kenya today, you'd think we have an election tomorrow. And if you look at the newspapers, you look at the headlines, they are sad. Business activity has gone down because of the quality of politics that we have in this country. I was in Tanzania once again about 3 days ago, and you can see the sobriety with which they handle their issues. First of all, the question of ethnicity does not even begin to arise because there is a cohesive nation. They are talking about issues. In Kenya, we find a bunch of individuals simply saying how they are going to share seats. Yeah. And you see that we have had NASA strike for almost a month, and nobody is talking about it. Can you believe it? Nobody talks about this, the critical things. We have shortages of maize meal, and what we do, we see our politicians telling us cock and bull stories. If I had my choice, the current crop of politicians, without exception, should be taken in some ship and taken to Seychelles, never to return to this country. Perhaps that would give us an opportunity for a new beginning. Yeah. But unfortunately, that is easier said than done.
If I may interject, yes. Before you have independent candidates coming on different platforms, you as an established Kenya, why did you see the need to throw your hat today as independent?
What is independent about these individuals? These are opportunists who, having lost elections in their parties, and because they know that winning a political seat in Kenya is like winning a lottery, they simply want to go to parliament. What is independent about them? A few days ago, they were either ODM or Wiper or Jubilee or some other party. It's just a bunch of opportunists who have nothing to offer to Kenya. And of course, they claim it is their democratic right in the manner in which they define democracy. And they are going there unleashed to the conniving electorate, which is going to elect them on the basis of their clans or their ethnicity or the basis of the money that they will be giving to them. So don't call them independent in the classical sense. They are not independent. They are only called independent because that is what the Constitution says. Otherwise, they are independent from nothing. And I hold the view, and you'll see the reason why until these changes take place. This book is my experience of my attempt at politics in 2007, and it documents what I went through and how I saw the electorate. So your question is answered there. It was futile to go into an electoral position in this country. The Kenyan electorate is not ready for people like me who speak the truth and say it as it is and are not ethnically inclined. They are not ready.
So on issues of integrity, are we on a wild goose chase when you talk about integrity? Because now they have to be vetted. They're coming up with every kind of story to dodge this bullet of integrity.
What integrity do you talk about in Kenya when a man called Waluke from Tunisia comes on national television and says that all MPs are routinely bribed? Did you see that?
Yeah.
Yes.
That
they are all of them. He said that every member of parliament, without exception, receives bribes. But remember that issues of integrity are not events, they are processes, so that this generation may not have the standard that we expect, but in the fullness of time, we must continue working at it. Yeah. That is the way it is.
Okay. In life, all achievements takes clear goal and determination.
Yes.
What has the intuition to go the extra mile contributed to your scholarly and law journey?
Which one?
Number 10.
Number. Of course, like in all things, you are yourselves journalists. You value your profession and you work at it, and that is what I do on a daily basis. I serve my profession with diligence and dedication, the best thing that I know how. It doesn't mean that we are perfect. We make mistakes along the line, and if we learn from those mistakes, then that is what it's all about. We are not perfect, but we continue striving, and I think that is what we must do, to continue striving and to ensure that we avoid mistakes and make, if we must, make as few mistakes as we possibly can. And if we make the mistakes, we learn from them. And that is a constant battle. And that is why when one talks about success, one can only talk about success when they have died and gone to the grave in peace. As long as you are alive, you can never quite say confidently that you are successful.
Okay.
That is the way it is.
You have answered this partly, but I would like you to tell us where you wish to see the Kenya School of Law in the next 5 years.
One of the things that we say in our motto is that we want to be, and you'll see that in some of our values, that we want to be a leading school in East Africa. One of the things that I got upset me is the decision of the Council of Legal Education that we cannot admit students from Uganda and other places. We cannot be saying that we want to be a leading institution in East Africa and then we exclude other people. My own view is this should be the mecca, so to speak, for African students who want to study here. And I look forward, therefore, to the day when it will be possible for this to be a leading institution that attracts everybody who has a proper degree in law to come and study here. That is easier said than done. In any event, my own tenure ends on the 17th of March next year, and I can tell you I do not intend to renew it, because I believe that this is a relay race. I've done my part. I'll go and do other things, and somebody else will come and run the institution. I'm not your typical Kenyan who, when they are appointed to an institution, don't want to leave. One must leave properly once they have achieved what they want. And I think I've done what I wanted to do. And in the month of September, in accordance with my contract, I'll be notifying the board that 6 months in advance, that I do not intend to renew my contract, so that they can begin a search for my successor.
Okay.
Yes.
As a renowned scholar, public speaker, and legal expert, what word of advice would you give to students pursuing law, public speaking, and public service?
My own view is everybody has their own talents, but there is one thing that I've discovered that is common throughout history and throughout the ages, that when you are pursuing something, pursue it with passion, dedication, and discipline. Passion, dedication, and discipline. And to me, that is half the journey. Dedication, and of course, one can never forget with integrity that you must seek at all times to do that which is good and right, for no other reason other than that it is good to do the right thing at all times.
Okay.
Yes.
We are done with the questions we had.
Yes.
But I would like to ask whether you have a public speaking school.
No, I don't. I used to have one, but right now I'm not school in the formal sense. I'm now beginning to work on an African mentorship program, which already I think we will be covering about 20 African countries. We are in the process of establishing that, and I believe that we will be up and about in the month of September, so that we share our experience with young people. And I use this word very deliberately. We share our experience. The beauty with experience is that you will have acquired knowledge, you'll have learned from mistakes. Making mistakes is a very good thing, because you are then able to advise people to avoid the mistakes that you made, because you are groping in the dark. So I think we are doing that. I'm very active in Africa, quite active in Africa, and I think that as a way of giving back to the continent, I must have a properly structured mentorship program. So that is happening.
Judge, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, based on that, I came across the fact that you also attended Ghent University.
Yes.
And that's in Belgium.
Yes.
And also in Nairobi, in Kenya, you have also been a student. How would you compare the two settings of experience? What Kenyan students do, where we get lost, and what is done up there for some of us who might want to pursue that?
Oh, let me tell you, whether you like it or not, the people in other parts of the world, in Europe and America, are very serious. Very serious. And you only have to look at the facilities and the behavior and the conduct of students. Here, students want to be politicians from day one of joining the university, and they want to be politicians on the basis of ethnicity. In those places, the students are organized according to their discipline. So that it is the law here, when they get into student elections, people are being elected on the basis of Luos combining with Luhyas. And at a university, can you believe it? So the level of seriousness and commitment in universities outside of this country, and I've been to the University of Lund in Sweden, I've been to Ghent University, I've been to the University of London, and I know that there is a world of difference. So one of the things that we must strive to do in this part of the world is to realize that academic work requires discipline and dedication so that we are truly world class. We are not called third world for nothing. We are called third world because our attitudes, it's not that we are lesser in terms of intelligence, it's just that we don't organize our affairs well. Yeah. So I can attest to that. We try to achieve that here, but the attitude in many African countries is that if it is a public, it's not anybody's. But we try to the best of our ability. We try to ensure that things are done well. If people are to be paid, they are paid on time. They don't have to ask for payment. If classes are to be conducted, they are conducted timelessly. And sometimes people, they are achievements. That is not to say that in Kenya there are not people who are doing good jobs. There are many. But politics is the more visible. And as long as you have low quality politics, and I'm submitting to you that our politics is one of the lowest quality in Africa. It's the lowest quality in Africa. And I say this often enough. We have terrible politicians in this country. Terrible.
Finally, do you have a passion like sports?
Yes, I'm a Shotokan karateka of the black belt division on the second dan.
Yeah, that's lovely.
Yes. So I am a martial artist.
Okay.
Yes.
That is pretty much what we had.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Did they